Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and today I'm with you to discuss the current property market trends here in Northern Cyprus as per August of 2025. All of you probably aware that the sales have dropped in volume since the law introduction in May of 2024 that has strictened the rules with regards to foreigners acquiring the property here in Northern Cyprus. And we've seen over the last year a huge downshift in the volume of property sales, whether it's off-plan or resales. But let me tell you, things have changed over the last few months. And even though there is a very pessimistic environment among the investors that have invested into the market of Northern Cyprus in 2022, 2023, there is a new pool of investors that have emerged because of the marketing campaigns, because of the bloggers, because of the information being spread across the globe, that right now you can currently grab, a resale deal at the price of 2021, 2022 level. So while the current investors that bought the property back then, are finding themselves in a very complicated mood, some of them are experiencing the loss, some of them are in limbo, some of them are, considering to wait before they resell the property. The current market is experiencing a very rapid growth in sales due to the fact there is a new pool of investors that have been informed that there are deals out here. Very, very good ones that are, not going to last for the market for too long. And, people are coming to Northern Cyprus to grab that deal at the prices of 2021 level. But that's not all, my dear friends, and here's where the situation gets interesting. Those investors that are coming for the cheap resales, they are changing their mind into a favor of an off-plan last minute. And the reason for that is the fact that agents that are leading those clients, they are, of course, promising some sort of yield returns on the short-term lets. And the challenging part about the situation is the fact that investors now have the opportunity to go and check those yields along with the rental rates and the occupancy rate at the reception desk. And a lot of the times, the promised returns do not align with the actual figures that are present on the market. And you know how the situation evolves. Those investors, they're actually turning their attention into the off-plan developments, and they go to see the developers with the managers to hear what they have to say. And of course, developers along with the managers, they are promising, well, first of all, there are very attractive 3D renderings, right, of the new projects that are being built. And second of all, the returns that are promised are a lot higher than those comparing of the completed resale market. And the interesting fact about it is that there is no way to verify that information because there is no data on what the market would look like or what rental rates would be in 3 to 4 years to come. And because the renders are so attractive and because their returns are so promising, the investors are changing their mind last minute in favor of an off-plan. As an example, let me tell you, a couple of weeks ago, I came across a very interesting information. An investor was promised 14% yield return on short-term lets for a property roughly costing about £300,000 for one-bedroom apartment. Just out of the curiosity, try to sit down and calculate what the daily rental rate should be along with the occupancy rate per year to justify those figures. So on one hand, there is a logical analytical approach while preparing for the visit to Northern Cyprus to look at the properties. On another hand, there is an emotional kick on the spot following the shift to the off-plan with attractive promising. Meanwhile, the local investors that have a lot bigger and deeper understanding of the local market snapping up those resales very fast. Why that is? Well, because they've seen all of those up and downs, and even though they know that the rental yields on the short-term lets have dropped due to various reasons, including the crisis across the globe, and people are traveling less nowadays, the prices increase for the day-to-day life, as well as for tourism. And of course, there is a lot more competition going on the short-term let market. So even though those factors do exist, local investors, they perfectly know that, at this point, long-term rental strategy is a lot more beneficial because you do not have to pay anywhere from 30 to 50% to the management company from your net revenue for the short-term lets, right? And of course, while buying resale at the prices of 3 to 4 years ago, you've already benefited from capital appreciation, along with the potential of short-term rental market being back into the market and the high demand. And of course, due to the fact that Northern Cyprus does allow that change of strategy from long-term to short-term rental, there is no obstacles for that. The potential is very high, whether it's capital appreciation or short-term lets or long-term rentals. That still right now is a little bit more beneficial, let's say, when we talk about yield returns. So even though the mood among the investors that invested in the last few years here in Northern Cyprus is very pessimistic, the market is in full speed for its recovery because the demand for the resale deals is very high. So the only question that remains is like, how long is it going to take for the market to fully recover and all of those resales go off the market? One more thing to mention, my dear friends, is that not all investors are equally informed about the current market conditions, okay? Let me give you a few examples. Let's say investors coming from CES countries, they are fully aware that there are hot deals on resales, that you can grab a bargain and benefit from the capital appreciation that happened in the last few years alone. As well as Turkish market, those guys, they're fully aware as well. They perfectly understand what's going on and they will do anything and everything what it takes to drop down the price on a resale, turning the market upside down. But if, let's say, we talk about Germans or Polish market, those investors are still in a vacuum. They don't have many agents here on the territory of Northern Cyprus. They don't have any informational sources available to them with the current market conditions in their own language. And because of that, of course, they are not always informed fully on the current conditions while making a decision. Another interesting phenomenon is that in July of 2025, a lot of developers are currently reporting an increase in sales. And that's after a stagnation, a massive one, after the law introduction. Now we're back on track. Developers are selling units, of course, not at the pace that they were selling them for in 2022. But still, the volume that we experience currently is still enough for the developers to stay confident about the fact that they can stress-free continue the construction and the sale of the units. The irony is that a lot of developers nowadays are planning to present a May law introduction of 2024 as a force majeure to avoid paying out the compensation for the delays of the delivery of the projects. So why there is such an increase in sales of an off-plan currently when there are so many resales at a lower prices? Well, there are a few reasons for that. First of all, is the buyers' unpreparedness. They're just simply not aware of the fact that those resale deals exist, right? Because they don't do their homework or due diligence, and of course, they're just receiving the information that's being communicated by the agent. And the agents, because they know that resale deals are very complicated, they are not looking forward to offering them at all. And of course, it requires a lot more time to search for the resale deals, especially that below the market value. So, buyers are preparedness. Then the second of all, if let's say the buyer is aware that there are resales, then, sometimes there is unconditional trust to the agent. And of course, agent is going to present the information that resales are very difficult to handle. In the sense that it's always, majority of the time, it's a three-party contract, right? Meaning that you have to agree for all three parties, including developers, sellers, and the buyers, to meet at the land registry to sign the contract and get the property registered under the new ownership. Plus, there is a reassignment cost that nowadays, as many of you might know, does exceed up to 20,000 euros per contract, and that's a lot. And plus, of course, the documentation check and all of that combined together. So agents a lot of the times present resales as a very impossible deal to conduct, and it's not worth the time and effort. Aside of those factors, there is also a narrowing price gap between the resales and off-plan. And let me explain you why. Well, first of all, if we, let's say, talk about the market of Iskele, 40% of resales have been wiped out of the market already in the last few months alone, meaning that the gap has already been narrowed. Plus, current investors, that bought the property in the last few years alone, they're already thinking whether they should lower down the price, and they think twice before negotiating the discount because, again, the competition is a lot lower. There are not as many units anymore as available, particularly in some of the complexes that are in high demand. So the gap has been narrowed. Aside of that, plus the reassignment cost that can reach up to 20,000, but it's not always the case. A lot of the times it will be somewhat around £3,000 for the reassignment of the property. There is another factor. Let's say the commission is a lot higher when it comes to an off-plan project, right? And there is a trend currently where an agent, in order to secure the deal, they're willing to compromise the commission. And once an agent does discount the commission rate by a certain percentage, developer is a lot of the times, just to make sure they secure the sale, is willing to negotiate the price itself, and a lot of the times drops the price by the same amount of percentage as the agent is dropping the commission. So all in all, let me give you an example. Let's say there is a property on off-plan, let's say 150,000 for 1+1 bedroom apartment, comparing to a resale of, let's say, £100,000 for 1-bedroom apartment. If agent and the developer sort of communicate about the mutual discounts, you can drop that price up to £130,000 altogether, okay? And in addition to that, a lot of the times, not all of the developers, of course it depends on the location and the property itself, type of property. A lot of the times there would be additional benefits that would be offered from the developer's side, such as taxes being paid, or maybe a furniture pack, or maybe a guaranteed rental, or some other benefits. Meaning that at the end of the day, the price difference, once you basically sum up all of those benefits and discounts, would be somewhat 25%. But at the same time, when you're buying an off-plan, you have the financial flexibility of a free of interest payment plan up to 5 years. That's another benefit, right? And a lot of the times investors would prefer the financial flexibility and invest money elsewhere, the difference in money, to sort of offset the difference in price if they have the chance to benefit from some sort of other investment overseas, not the property one, but some other tools that are available right now in our current world. Meaning still a lot of the times off-plan is preferred with all of those benefits adding up. In conclusion, I would like to say, my dear friends, is that different investors from different countries have a different pool of information available to them. A lot of the investors are not fully aware of the current market conditions, and I'm talking in particular and referring to German and Polish markets. They are in a vacuum. They don't know what's going on. And a lot of the times their decision is based purely on the information provided by the agent. Whereas, let's say, if we're talking about CES countries, Russian-speaking clientele, plus the Turkish market, those guys are fully aware of what's going on. They will turn their market upside down, searching for the best deal available. They will go to different agents. They will try to take the prices down no matter what. And trust me, those guys, they will grab the best deal available. And in addition to the fact that Russian agents, the competition of them is a lot higher on the market of Northern Cyprus. Right now, commission is not a deal breaker anymore. Right now, the deal breaker is a successful deal. And agents would go beyond and above to provide the best for favorable terms to the investor to secure the deal, no matter what the amount of the commission would be. Another thing, my dear friends, is that investors' memory anywhere across the globe on the property market is very short than one might think. Even though the old investors might not be happy with the new law introduction, the new investors take the new regulations as a normality, especially with the fact that Northern Cyprus has softened the rules and now you can buy up to 3 properties and the tax has been reduced on the title deed transfer. So, to conclude, the gap between the resales and the off-plan has been narrowed. Developers are offsetting the difference with the benefits that they're offering and the discounts to the investors. And of course, whoever is aware of the resale, snapping up those from the market as well. So the market is in full speed for its recovery. And whether you like it or not, it's a very good news for us here in Northern Cyprus, because the Northern Cyprus continues to flourish. Thank you so much for watching, my dear friends. It's been a pleasure to have you, and I will see you soon on my YouTube channel. Have a lovely weekend.